Hello, this is Dr. Odom. It is Tuesday, March 29th right now. You should be watching this video before your quiz is due on Friday at 2:30, which is your class time. The quiz is over chapters 1 and 3 of Asking the Right Questions. Like I said at the end of class last time, chapter 2 is also really good, and especially if you are pre-law, you should really read that chapter as well. So your quiz grade will be recorded from that quiz. There's also an assignment I want you to start working on, and then we'll talk about it when we get to class on Monday. But I wanted to just go over a few main ideas to give you more of a big picture orientation to chapters 1 and 3 of Asking the Right Questions, and to highlight some of the key points. You'll be applying these ideas to your academic article. So the one that you just wrote about for your stylistic analysis, you're going to write about again, but you're going to use the terms from Asking the Right Questions to describe the logical structure, the logical moves that you see occurring in your academic article. So it's going to be a challenging paper, but I think that you will gain a lot by studying these chapters from the textbook. Okay, so in chapter 1, they introduce you to a very specific and well-developed meaning of critical thinking. And I'm including some drawings that I made on the board for my class that I just previously taught. So the relationship of different types of thinking they have, there, that's better, is like this. Okay, so you have thinking, right? Some of it is passive. And I don't know that they say that word, but they use the metaphor of sponge for that type of thinking. And then you have critical thinking, which is what the whole book is about. The metaphor that they use for critical thinking is panning for gold. And then underneath that, you have weak sense and strong sense critical thinking. What weak sense critical thinking means is that you are weighing evidence, and you're thinking critically about a question to some degree, but it's really in support of your already held belief. So you're not really open to persuasion on an issue that you already have an opinion about. Strong sense critical thinking means that you're weighing evidence and you are open to persuasion. So you might be persuaded by someone else's reasons or evidence. You might change your position, or your own position might become stronger as a result of knowing the evidence and the reasons that are on the other side. So that's the relationship of all those types of thinking that they go over in chapter 1. In chapter 2, you get to the terms of issues and conclusions. I wanted to do a little exercise similar to what we did in class when I introduced the topic of nominalizations, and we went over the Latin parts of that word that gave you a clue based on words you already know about what that word means. And so we can do the same for descriptive issues and prescriptive issues. So if you look at the word descriptive issues, think of words that you already know in English that have that prefix. You might think of words like, I can read my writing, describe. So a descriptive issue describes something about reality. As the book says, it describes the way the world was or is or will be in the future. So it's it's looking for facts, although what the facts are often contested. So a descriptive issue is not necessarily just going to have one answer. We can do the same thing for prescriptive issue. Okay, so prescriptive. What words in English does that remind you of? Prescriptive. Trying to spell. you might think of words like prescribe, or RX is an abbreviation for prescription. And in that case, your doctor gives you a prescription for a medication and says, you should take this. You need to take this. This is a good thing for you to do. So prescriptive issues are going to be about whether we should do something or not, or what we should do. So you'll have, the questions will be about ethical or moral obligations, I think is what the book says. So you can look at those two parts and use those to answer the quiz questions, the quiz that's due on Friday. I also wanted to draw a little diagram about the relationship between an issue and a conclusion. So think of an issue as the larger, like a large circle, and the issue is a question that can be a descriptive question or a prescriptive question. In my example, I've made some shorthand for a prescriptive question. The circle is the issue. So let's get that in there. The issue, should we have recycling at UT? Should we have a recycling program? Should we pay for it? These are related questions. The conclusions are going to be different positions within that large space. You will have many different conclusions. Synonyms for conclusions, by the way, include things like argument, thesis, main point, main claim. And because conclusions, as in the argument sense, can be found in the introduction or the conclusion of a text, it's going to get a little bit confusing. So I'll try to keep it straight when I use that word. So the issue is the overarching question, and then the conclusion are the arguments underneath that question. So those are the main points. And the other assignment that I want you to work on, and then we're going to go over it in class on Monday, is about this PDF that I've made. It's based on, everything just fell off my desk. Okay, these didn't come out stapled. Based on 2 opinion columns that are from the Patriot Talon. So this was last month, the March 1st edition of the Patriot Talon, and these were 2 opinion columns that were on the same page with the same headline. You see the headline here is environmental fee, why we should we have a quote-unquote green campus? And you have Ashley Wilson has a much longer column over here, and then James Hescock has his shorter column here. That's to give you an idea of what it originally looked like. But I've printed off from the website so that this is the shorter column. And let's just work with this one. It's the one by James Hescock. It starts on February 4th, the Student Government Association, etc., etc. So I'd like for you to apply the terms issue, prescriptive and descriptive issue, and conclusion to just this shorter column by James Hescock. I think that's what I wanted you to do. So we'll just identify those. You can also read through the article, the column, and apply some of those other terms like indicator words or strong sense, critical thinking, panning for gold, anything from the first 2 chapters. We're going to return to these 2 columns after we read the chapter on fallacies and after we read the 2 chapters on types of evidence, and reread them to identify those terms that later you will be using in your paper. So I'm providing a PDF on Blackboard for you to download and print out and mark up and bring to class on Monday. We'll have a quiz in class on Monday that's about asking the right questions, chapter 7, about fallacies. And a note before to frame your reading in the fallacies chapter, chapter 7. Note that if you or another reader is inclined to agree with the positions that these reasons that are potential fallacies are in support of, you're inclined to agree with that position, you probably won't say that they are fallacies. You'll say that these are good reasons, or this is good reasoning to support that position. But if you're skeptical of that position, then you will be more likely to play spot the fallacy, and you'll be more likely to say you're using bad reasoning to get to that conclusion, and that's one of the reasons why your conclusion is a wrong one. So a fallacy is to some degree in the eye of the beholder. They're subjective, and so you might see that when reading the two opinion columns. You might agree with the conclusion of one, and so look a little bit less hard for fallacies in it. You might disagree with the conclusion of another, and you might identify more. And it may mean that other people will agree with you and there are more fallacies in one than the other, but just keep it in mind that one person's fallacy is another person's evidence or good reasoning. So I will see you on Monday, and have a good weekend.